as a male, I'm the bride of Christ, and I'm to enter into his presence as one who is pure.
Okay.
And so I still take it true horizontally, but it's also true vertically before God. It's fundamentally theological. And so when I read these Old Testament laws, I see how they relate to me spiritually before God, and also how they relate to my neighbor.
Yeah.
Now, as Christians in the church, we do not have the sword, like I read Romans 13 earlier. I don't have the sword, so all I can do, let's just say you're in my church, and you're sleeping with your girlfriend, and we talk about it, and how you need to repent or marry her, but while you're like, nope, love fornicate. And we say, well, we'll have to separate. You know what I mean? And so as a Christian, I don't have the sword. I separate and say, well, we can't hang out, we can't fellowship, we love you, our desire is to be reconciled to you, but we must separate. So even when I was a little kid, we might think that's harsh, but even when I was a little kid, my mom would send me to my room and not let me eat with the family until I came back humbly and asked for forgiveness. So even as a Christian, our goal is reconciliation with you, that you would eat at the Lord's Supper with us as a child of God, that we separate you from that table for a season in order to bring you back, just as my parents would do the same with me. Is say, guys, we don't have our act together. Despite all pretenses to the contrary, we don't have our act together.
Yeah.
And not having our act together, God loved the world while we were yet sinners. God didn't love me because Keith Darrell had his act together back in 1993. He's like, good white middle class kid. He's about to go to college. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Despite who I was, God has loved me. And so one of the things, even talking about the sinfulness of your heart, is that ultimately, if you can really evaluate your own heart, and you know, if you have a girlfriend or something like that, or whatever, and like honestly, Bob Dylan, we'll just quote Bob Dylan, people says, if people could see my thought stream, my head would be caught in a guillotine. That's what Bob Dylan says. And so if that's true of you, that's the person by whom the gospel's for. If you can sit back and say, man, if people could see my thought stream, my head would be caught in a guillotine, that's who Jesus Christ came for. And the hard part with all the religious right and politicking and all that sort of stuff is we miss the gospel of God loving the world, because we often preach, get your act together, and people think, oh, God's going to love me because I've got my act together.
Yeah, I've got my act together. Everybody else is terrible, so I'm going to like legislate.
Yeah, and if I just get political power, I can reform the world.
Yeah.
And so this is my gospel. I seek to lay down my life just as Christ laid down my life. And Johnny Cash even has a song, a lyric in a U2 song where he says that people want the kingdom, but they don't want God in it. Yeah. And that's the real issue. People love Jesus' morality, but they don't love Jesus.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is the fruit of loving Jesus are these things you guys desire. But you guys want these things without wanting Him. And that's ultimately spiritual adultery, idolatry, all those sorts of things. So that's what I'm coming from. All right?
That's fair.
Yeah, your name again, one more.
Chris. What, Keith?
Yeah, Keith.
I appreciate it.
Can I give you a Bible?
Don't need a Bible, but I can think of what you said.
All right. Hopefully see you again in here.
All right, absolutely. And one last thing. Because you offered me a challenge, I appreciate a lot of the things that you're saying. If Christianity devoted more of its energy, and I know it devotes a lot, but like as a whole, if Christianity devoted more of its energy to the abjectly poor, to the oppressed, and I know that they do, but there's like a lot of sects who are like really like about punishing other people, and I know that's not necessarily you. I'd be totally won over. It's just hard because there's so many people who are all about the moralism.
I agree with you. So here's the thing, Chris. You repent, believe, get baptized. We'll start doing that in New York City. You and I start working. We start rallying people each week here in Union Square. Then we're taking care of those in abject poverty here in New York and beyond. So you join up with it. All right, take care.
Hi, I'm gonna tap in here.
All right, good.
My name's Winter.
Winter.
My dad actually is famous for